From the UBS Broadcast Center at Union University, this is Jackson 24/7.
Hello, I'm Logan Whaley. Thanks for making Jackson 24/7 part of your day.
I'm Priscilla Porter. Things have calmed down since a serious weather scare Monday afternoon. The southern part of Madison County was placed under a tornado warning around 4:20 yesterday.
Several West Tennessee counties experienced high winds and hail during a half-hour period as severe storms moved from Arkansas and Mississippi into our region.
Let's go now to Jackson 24/7 reporter Amy Rodell for a look back at how we were affected. Amy, we had some pretty heavy rain in the Jackson area during those storms.
Thanks, Priscilla. We did have some harrowing moments yesterday. In fact, with what has happened with storms in Jackson since 1997, everyone tends to be on alert when severe warnings are issued. Tornado warnings were issued for the area of Mifflin and Beach Bluff just as some people were heading for home yesterday. Fortunately, we had no injuries reported. Let's look at what the radar showed around 4:30. This was the storm track as heavy storms moved through Jackson and continued for more than an hour and a half. More than 3 inches of rain were measured in some portions near the I-40 corridor. Some flash flooding was reported. We'll show you what it looked like just outside our UBS News studio at Union University during the storm. We missed some of the worst of it here in the northern part of the city. However, strong lightning occurred for several minutes as people were bringing children to the Community Music Center classes. Our rainfall at Union totaled 1.15 inches. Madison County Emergency Management Service directors reported that no funnel cloud was spotted in the county. However, some rotation was reported in the Beach Bluff area near the former elementary school. Jackson State Community College called off evening classes because of the weather. Henderson County and Decatur County reported large-size hail and wind rotation. Now, Logan and Priscilla, this is not uncommon for this time of year when warm air moves up from the Gulf and strong winds develop out of the south and west. Fortunately, we avoided severe damage and injuries. Reporting live for Jackson 24/7, I'm Amy Rodell.
Thank you, Amy. And as she just told you, along with severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings in the area, we had some large-size hail in Midtown and South Jackson.
Ping-pong-sized hail was reported in the areas of Mercer, Melissa's, and Meaden. Let's take a look at how some of this looked in Madison County. Some of this video came from Southside High School broadcasting teacher Greg Hammond. This was falling around 4 o'clock in Midtown Jackson. Some hail reports were as large as 2 inches in size. Some damage was reported to areas in the Meaden area. This is some video on a deck in the Pinson area. You can see how rapidly the hail was falling. We could have more of this erupt on Thursday of this week. Jackson 24/7 weathercaster Rachel Pratt will have more about that in about 10 minutes. The Jackson community and a school community continue to mourn the loss of a family after a private plane crash over the weekend.
Federal aviation investigators are still examining the crash scene to determine exactly what happened. The tragedy has affected friends and fellow students of the entire family.
Jackson 24/7 reporter Alex Northcutt is standing by with details. Alex, this has certainly stunned people who knew this family of 4.
It definitely has, Priscilla. Grief counselors have been brought in at the University School of Jackson. They're assisting students who are struggling with the deaths of 2 of their classmates. 45-year-old Joseph Crenshaw and his wife Jennifer were killed in the plane crash Saturday afternoon in Hayden, Alabama. Their 16-year-old son Jacob and 14-year-old daughter Jillian were also killed. The family was coming home from a spring break vacation. Blount County, Alabama coroner John Mark Vaughn officially confirmed yesterday that the Crenshaws were killed. Crenshaw owned the single-engine plane. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board sent investigators to Hayden 2 days ago. They're looking at maintenance records and radar data. It's going to be a while before an official cause is declared. The Crenshaw family was well known in the city of Jackson. A witness said she heard a loud explosion at the time of the crash.
But it sounded like a very heavy object going down through trees.
And our thoughts also are with these victims' family at this time, but no doubt this is while they may have not been local to this area, this is still a tragedy for our community. They're going to look at, as we said, weather condition. They're going to look at the status of the pilot. They're going to exhaust every effort in this. They're going to do their best in speaking with the NTSB to recreate this.
The plane was coming from Kissimmee, Florida. It was scheduled to land around 3:30 Saturday afternoon. The fuselage for the plane was found in a heavy wooded area of Hayden, Alabama. Without question, guys, this is the most tragic story of the year affecting people from Madison County. Reporting live for Jackson 24/7, I'm Alex Northcutt.
Thanks, Alex. We don't like bringing you tragic news any more than you like to hear it. However, it is part of life in our community. We now have the identity of a woman who died in a wreck Monday morning on Browns Church Road. The accident was in the 100 block of Browns Church Road. The name of the fatal victim still has not been released as of airtime. Sheriff's Office spokesperson Tom Mapes said the crash happened around 3:45 Monday morning. A man in the car was injured and is being treated at a local hospital. A man and woman in Greene County are being held on bonds of $150,000. They're accused of attempting to sell a baby on Craigslist. 37-year-old Deanna Lynn Greer and 26-year-old John David Kane were in court Monday for a preliminary hearing. An undercover officer contacted Greer and Kane. The couple met with a TBI agent at a Dollar General in Greenville and exchanged the baby for cash. Both were immediately arrested. Greene County Sheriff Pat Hankins says the child is in state custody. Greer and Kane are charged with aggravated child abuse and aggravated child neglect or endangerment. Their next court date is April 7th. Kane is a fugitive from Wilmington, North Carolina, where he's wanted on robbery charges.
Veteran Jackson attorney T. Robert Hill has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy for his law office. In a statement, Hill says the decision was to counter an attempted takeover by stockholder Ricky Bourne and former employee Jeffrey Boyd. Hill accuses Bourne and Boyd of creating a financial drain on his law organization. Bankruptcy court officers say this is a filing for a corporate bankruptcy, not a personal bankruptcy. In a written release, Hill said his law firm has enjoyed a great reputation dating back to 1970. He adds, "I do not want the legacy of Hill Bourne to end in chaos after my retirement." Bourne and Boyd started their own firm last December. The Hill Bourne office on North Highland is listed for sale with an asking price of $980,000. Governor Haslam's gas tax bill is now officially before key committees in the State House and Senate. State lawmakers are expected to consider the measure during the next week to 10 days. The governor attempted to drum up support in a speech before a state truckers association yesterday. He's asking for a 7-cent per gallon gas tax hike. A similar increase is proposed for diesel fuel. He's pushing for the hike to pay for necessary highway projects across the state. The plan would lower the tax on food items in Tennessee.
And speaking of travel, Tennessee state park managers want to see you visit now that spring is here. In fact, you can have a 30% discount if you stay at 2 West Tennessee State Park Inns between now and April 9th. Natchez Trace State Park and Paris Landing State Park are offering the special deal. No nightly minimum is required, but you have to make reservations either by phone or online. You have to either select the Deal of the Week online or mention Deal of the Week if you call the park directly. If you stay in a Natchez Trace cabin for 2 nights, you can receive a similar 30% discount. Thursday night, you'll have a chance to hear more about the future of Pope Elementary School. Outgoing Superintendent Verna Ruffin will lead a community forum about prospects of converting Pope to a K-8 school. The Vision 2020 school reorganization plan called for the extension of Pope into a K-8. But board members have opted to keep Pope as a K-6 through next year. The board is looking for space and money to fund an eventual K-8. The forum is scheduled at the Star Center on Old Humboldt Road Thursday night at 6 o'clock. As for the future superintendent, board members will meet next week with Dr. Eric Jones. They'll work out a transition time for him to come on board and get an idea for his early vision for the school district.
Yesterday, Dr. Jones received a boost from a leader in Jackson's African American community. Standing by live with the details is Jackson 24/7 reporter Reagan Smith.
Priscilla, Dr. Jones was only chosen as superintendent-elect last Tuesday night, but already community leaders and parents are anxious to know what his early agenda is. This subject came up yesterday on Jackson 24/7 College News Conference during a discussion about education issues in Jackson. Jackson's chapter of the NAACP has been on record calling for the city of Jackson to return to operating its own school system. The organization's leaders say they feel the consolidated school district has failed to properly educate children who aren't top achievers. Yesterday on College News Conference, Mother Liberty's CME Church pastor Darrell Coleman called the selection of Jones a courageous move by the school board. But he also says Jones has a big challenge to unify the community in the best interests of public education.
The thing I think that most of all he must do is that he must now find a way to bridge together the differences that exist in our community. I think he must be an advocate for the school system and letting all people know of what the school system needs and trying to get them to have some kind of buy-in so that the more that the community has a buy-in, the more we will cooperate together.
Dr. Coleman says he's convinced Jones has the capability to lead the district to a better academic level. However, the minister says Dr. Jones will need strong financial support and the backing of the board and the community if he is to succeed. Reporting live for Jackson 24/7, I'm Reagan Smith.
Thanks, Reagan. Still to come, Dr. Ben Mitchell examines a dispute that has divided members of a large church denomination. And a man who is a champion for Christianity and the arts will join us.
We'll have all of that and more right after Rachel Pratt has a look at our Tuesday weather.
We were under severe thunderstorm watch until 8 o'clock last night, but fortunately we dodged most of the severe weather that brought tornadoes to Oklahoma and Texas on Sunday. Now everything is calming down quite a bit today. Now this week cold front has just passed through the Jackson area, but our high temperatures will stay in the 70s for most of the week. Now tonight most of the clouds will be out of our way. Now it's not going to be a terribly cold night, but our lows will be in the mid-50s. But we do have storms brewing again in Oklahoma that could head our way on Thursday. When you wake up Wednesday morning, you will see clear skies. We'll have some clouds passing through during the day, but we expect the rain to hold off until Thursday morning. Your Jackson 24/7 forecast calls for clear skies tonight with a low of 54. Tomorrow, a high is back up to 77 with light winds out of the east. Wednesday night, a low of 61 under clear skies. Now here's your 6-day on 6 forecast. We will have an 80% chance of showers and thunderstorms on Thursday as another cold front heads our way. Now Friday clearing up with a high in the mid-60s. On the weekend, temperatures return to 70s with a slight chance of rain on Sunday. That's your Jackson 24/7 weather. I'm Rachel Pratt. Coming up next, Dr. Ben Mitchell on a controversy that has affected a major church denomination. Stay with us.
What's your goal? Union University's degree completion program can help you get there.
Union made balancing my work, my family, and school very easy. The day I walked in, they cared about me. They were interested, invested in seeing me through to graduation.
Reach your goal. Call 731-661-5163 or visit uu.edu/reachyourgoal.
These have not been the easiest weeks for Southern Baptists. The denomination's leader in the fight for religious liberty has been openly critical of President Trump. That's led to some churches to threaten to withhold their contributions to the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission of the Southern Baptist Convention. Dr. Russell Moore heads that commission, and he's the one on the hot seat. Our own Dr. Ben Mitchell is here to explain the significance of this controversy to both Baptists and non-Baptists. Thank you for being here today. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
So many people in our audience aren't Baptists, so give us an overview of Dr. Moore's political statements and why they're controversial.
Certainly. And I should say at the beginning, there are at least a couple of layers here. One is a miscommunication, and the other one may be a difference in strategy. Dr. Moore heads the ethics agency for the Southern Baptist Convention, the largest Protestant denomination in the country. And he has been a vocal opponent of the Trump presidency from the time of the early debates to the present. And some leaders in the SBC, specifically pastors of some large churches, found Dr. Moore's rhetoric problematic, to say the least, and began to withdraw funding from some of the denomination's agencies and its funding mechanism, which caused a great deal of concern that not only would the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission lose its funding potentially, but some other agencies as well as a side effect to the defunding. So that's sort of the context in which this has played out.
Okay. What about the churches that have threatened to withhold their support, their financial support to the Religious Liberty Commission?
Yeah, and this is where those two layers become important. On the one hand, I think there's been some miscommunication. When Dr. Moore spoke about Trump supporters, he tended to lump together anyone who was pro the Trump presidency, including some of the church leaders in large megachurches in the SBC who he didn't mean to target, but they felt that they were being criticized as well. The other layer is a strategy layer, and I think that there's still a difference of opinion in how we should engage the national political discussions, whether we should do so quietly and do so winsomely, or whether we should be involved in national politics. And that division has I think widened as a result of the Trump presidency.
Right. So Dr. Moore has been on Union's campus, and he's appeared on Jackson 24/7 in the past. To what degree do you think that he prepared for the impact of his statement on President Trump?
Well, yeah. How much Dr. Moore could anticipate the kind of reaction he got is really questionable. I doubt he thought that he was going to get this kind of pushback. But I do think that raises the importance of our public rhetoric and understanding how our language in the public square might be misinterpreted or misunderstood, even by friends, even by people who are on our side, if you will. So I think it is incumbent on us to be very careful in how we state our beliefs, opinions, views, and how we speak into the culture.
Right. Coming up, a man known as the Missionary to the Arts, Nigel Goodwin, joins us live on Jackson 24/7 right after these messages.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Nigel Goodwin was once described as a man who has spent his life stirring up Christian artists to think deeply and to work at a level of excellence that is worthy of our Creator.
He's encouraged thousands of Christians in the arts and engaged the culture seriously with their talents. Nigel Goodwin joins us live on Jackson 24/7. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's a joy. It's lovely to be. You know, Churchill said we're two nations divided by a common language. So I'm speaking, supposedly, the Queen's English.
The performing arts are clearly biblical for anyone who has ever read the Psalms. But why is it that many people don't get the connection between the arts and Christianity?
Well, I think largely because we've actually forgotten that Dorothy Sayers said, if you know nothing else about God except Genesis 1, you'd know that he was a creator. And we've often forgotten our roots, our Hebrew roots, and we've majored in education on our Greek rationale, the Greek understanding of things. And it's not either or, it's both and more, the New Testament being the fulfillment of the Old. So the first verb in the Bible is God makes things, he is a creator, and he makes them rather well. He doesn't make mistakes with any of us. We have choice, the gift of choice, and we've made the mistakes. And the second verb in the Bible is take care of the planet. God so loved the cosmos, the world. So we are caretakers of the planet. We're little creators under the Creator. Picasso said everyone is an artist, but not everyone's made to make art. But everyone is made to make something. Find your gift. And I spend my life helping people find their gift and bring it to the table. And the great artist, as I like to call him, the great lawmaker, the great physician, he's making a banquet, not a bowl of soup. I like soup, but he's making a banquet. If we come to the table with our gifts, then the table is richer for our presence. If we stay away, it is poorer for our absence.
For people who aren't familiar with your background, what led you to use your talents as an actor as a Christian witness?
Well, my mum prayed for me for 5 years every day. I was working in theatre, film and television. She had become a Christian in her 50s, and I told her to go jump in the lake, and there were no lakes available. She lived in London. And prayer is the most creative thing we can do. It doesn't need automation, it doesn't need technology. It is direct access with the Father in the name of the Son and in the power of the Holy Spirit. Incredible communication. And I was wanted to study the Word of God. I became a Christian at the age of 25. I was brought up Marxist and humanist, and the Brave New World crowd was the crowd that I knew, the Huxley brothers and all that. But God took hold of my life very dramatically through my mother's prayers, and I went to seminary, and while I was there, I thought I'd read Elizabeth Elliot's book, Through Gates of Splendor, and I thought I was going out to work with the Huaorani in Ecuador, South America. And I realized that God wanted me in the arts. I had a dream one night of a city full of artists. I found other people who were thinking the same. We got together, we prayed for 7 years. The roots of prayer, hidden, bring forth the fruits of your life. No roots, no fruits. And so I married Gillian in 1971. We opened our house up in London, and people came pouring in from the West End theatres. And I've been going around the world finding the art gift in everyone and helping it to come to the table.
And I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this part. We're going to keep Nigel Goodwin for another segment. When we come back, we'll visit with him about a conference where he'll discuss the work of the legendary C.S. Lewis.
We'll continue our conversation on Christians and the arts right after these messages.
We continue our visit with the missionary to the arts, Nigel Goodwin.
In this segment, we'll discuss the upcoming conference where he and many other scholars will focus on the work of the legendary C.S. Lewis. A number of Union University professors have spoken in the past at a conference known as the Inklings Weekend at Montreat College in North Carolina. You're going to be there this weekend. What happens at this event?
Well, it's a gathering of graduates, postgraduates, from all over the country, and mostly in the South, because it's held in the beautiful dogwood country of the Blue Ridge Mountains in Montreat. What happens is that people come together over meals and discussion in Montreat College, and we talk about many of the things that C.S. Lewis talked about. You know, one of the wonderful things he said was, I believe in God like I believe in the sun, not because I see it, but because by it I see everything else. Lewis was awakened from the great Norse stories, the myths and this sort of thing, because he realized that he was part of that story. And you know, Francis Schaeffer, my mentor, and Hans Ruckmacher, back in the 60s and the 70s, they laid foundations for us. They gave us permission to be Christians and artists. Not everybody who comes to the Inklings Conference is a practicing artist, but they're all thinkers. And one of the things Francis Schaeffer said was, we've got to learn to think Christianly, to live Christianly, to be little Jesuses, as C.S. Lewis says, not to do Christ, but to be Jesus out there in every area of our lives. We know something. We know that everyone is fearfully and wonderfully made in his image. They don't know that. They don't know they need to know that. We know that if we know that. We know a secret, people. We know a great secret about every human being out there. And we need to see the image of God in everybody we meet, however broken, however beaten up, however hurting, however many actual tornadoes have blasted them. We know something about them while they're still breathing, that they're made in the image of God. And that's what we talk about at the Inklings through all kinds of different stories. This weekend we'll be thinking about G.K. Chesterton a great deal, and some of the sort of minor Inklings people, C.S. Lewis's wife, ex-Marxist, ex-Jewish, now Christian, Joy Davidman Gresham. And of course we've got all the Narnia films out there. Lots of helps. You know, when you see the media, when you see the arts, don't judge what you don't like. Look at the story. An all dark piece of work is very boring. An all light piece of work is very boring. But if there's a crack on the canvas, something's coming through. And God uses a candle, never a headlamp. He doesn't beat us up. He doesn't bully us. He's out there speaking to us all the time for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear.
Now, why are the works of C.S. Lewis timeless?
Sorry,
Why are C.S. Lewis's works timeless?
Because I think he's ever relevant. He asks the question behind the question behind the question. Take Screwtape Letters, for example. It's the hardest book he ever wrote. Why? Because he is unmasking Mr. Nasty, as I call him, Slimeball, Screwtape. He is showing us how the lie tries to pretend to be the truth. Emily Dickinson said, when you tell the truth, tell it slant. Tell it creatively. Tell it imaginatively, not dogmatically, but beautifully.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for being with us today. We may have had some hail in the Jackson area yesterday, but we were lucky to avoid damaging winds.
Rachel Pratt will be back in a moment to tell us if any more severe weather is on the way. A final look at that is in the forecast next.
Steve Beverly's TV Classics can cure what ails you.
I watched and it got rid of my hemorrhoids.
Staying awake at night? Just watch TV Classics.
My daughter watched and she went right to sleep.
Do not watch Steve Beverly's TV Classics if bites upset your stomach. Do not watch if high drama leads to emotional distress. And do not turn on TV6 Saturday or Sunday at 7 if hillbillies give you a gallbladder attack.
Ask your doctor if Steve Beverly's Classics is right for you.
Nice weather through Wednesday, then more storms on the way. Your Jackson 24/7 forecast calls for clear skies tonight with a low of 54. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a high of 77. Now Wednesday night, clear skies with a low of 61. Now here's your 6-day-on-6 forecast. Storms return on Thursday for most of the day. We'll clear up on Friday with temperatures back down to the mid-60s. On the weekend, partly cloudy with a high in the 70s on Saturday and Sunday. We will have a slight chance of rain on Sunday afternoon as well. That's your Jackson 24/7 weather. I'm Rachel Pratt. Remember, the sun is always shining somewhere. Enjoy the rest of your day and night.
Thanks, Rachel. That's Jackson 24/7. Tomorrow, an encore of this week's College News Conference. Dr. Daryl Coleman will be questioned by the community's college media on everything from the history of a legendary Jackson church to the church's role in battling crime. I'm Logan Whaley.
I'm Priscilla Porter. Thursday, we'll have a preview of summer camps for kids in the Jackson area. Have a great afternoon and evening, and thanks for watching.